Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, got the chat. Yep. There we go. And then this. Yep. All right. Yep. Okay. Oh, can people even hear me? That's the question. That's the question. Test. Yes. Okay. Okay. What's up, kiddo? You got some crinkly paper? Yeah? Got some crinkly paper and a score bunny? The kid's set. The kid's set and ready to go. Put that there. It is Friday, right? I hope it's Friday. I have no idea what's happening anymore. Oh, did that get put to public? Interesting. Why is YouTube all of a sudden broken? We have people in here. Hey, how's it going? But for some reason... Huh. Discord is not promoting the video. I don't know what's going on. Oh well. Welcome in, everybody. Cannon, welcome in. Welcome in, welcome in. Nope, that's on the background. That's on the background there. How was your weekend? I hope you're doing, or your week. Hope you're looking forward to the weekend. Hope everybody's doing all right. Had a good week. Staying cool. Oh no. Oh no, Tiny Mane. What's up? You upside down? Eh. So, changes are coming to the channel. Hello, they've been a while. Ah, the baby. Yeah, Alexander, welcome in. He's just figuring stuff out for, like, he's not quite to crawling, but he's, like, trying to figure that out. So a lot of him playing on the floor is just like, I'm just going to struggle. And it's like, okay, kid. It's funny because, like, regardless of how you put him down, he immediately flips over and tries to start crawling and can't. So it's just a lot of struggle. Hear me out, Magic Overlord. Yeah, I mean, like as a game or as a character. What does that mean? I need more details. What does a Magic Overlord look like? This is really the last viewer suggestion stream ever. Well, Jordan, I was going to wait until we had a little bit more time in here, but I can start talking about that. Essentially, next week, I will be the main caretaker of the child. So I don't know how I'm going to do the viewer suggestions. Because I feel really bad if I ask people for suggestions and then have to like cancel the live stream, or if the live streams just don't work. So next week, I'm not going to do a viewer suggestion as it is next week. And just see kind of how it goes. I will still be live streaming, but it might be at a weird time. It might not be Wednesday, Friday. If we do a viewer suggestion, it might be something that's later in the afternoon, so that way I can have someone else watching the kiddo, and then I just do a viewer suggestion. But as is, the Wednesday, Friday viewer suggestion model, I don't think is going to work. We can try it, and we could try it next week and just see how it goes. But I'm not going to ask for suggestions next week, so we will be doing that like live, and we'll see how it goes, if that makes sense. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is probably going to be the last like viewer suggestion for a while at least, until we kind of figure out what we're doing. What the hell?
Not on the floor.
Oh. When somebody uses a lot of magic spells, healing, etc., they become exhausted. In the sense, like spell might fail or they lose HP, something like that. Keeps mages in check. Oh, magic
overload.
Overload.
That's what you're talking about.
Gotcha. I read it as Overlord. Look at me, Druid.
Hi. I think it's in magic overload is an interesting concept, but I don't think it usually fits in very well with the mechanics for D&D. I think the Vancian magic system kind of precludes that.
Here's the my thought on it is spell failure rate exists, or it did for a long time.
Yeah.
And
Older editions,
and it sucked. Like, this is not fun.
It was not fun.
People didn't like it. It was bad. Oliver. My partner's going back to work. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, we're basically, we've been on like family paid leave essentially for a little while, and so now they're going to go back to their day job, and this is my day job, and so mine gets blended over to the child, and I do not make the $2,000 a month required to pay for childcare. So here we go. So the live streams are going to get are going to be different for sure. And my main intent is to get back to where I can do that, but I don't want to promise that I can. You know, that's the biggest thing. Is if I say, yeah, we're still going to do the live streams, the viewer suggestion live streams, and I have people suggest their characters, and then I just can't do it 1 week, that sucks. Like, that's not fun. That's not good. So I want to make sure that I'm able to output something while watching and taking care of the kid before I really promise that we'll be doing the live streams. So they'll probably be back, but as they are now, I think it's gonna have to take a break. So until this kid can entertain himself for more than 10 minutes at a time, the live streams are not going to function.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We're all right. Everything's good. We've been talking and planning about this for a while, so it's just a matter of what's going to happen here. And some of the live streams might just be more like just chatting. And that's something we could do back on Twitch, I guess, if people really wanted that. I do still have a lot of commission work that I need to do, so I'll be doing some of that on stream. I put up a poll, and people said that they'd be interested in seeing more like detailed work. So what it might become is that instead of doing like rapid fire not commissions, but like suggestions, it's more that we pick one or two out of the suggestion list, and then we just work on that all day, because it might take me all day. Yeah. Not of a chance in the wild. Yeah. I just have an issue with the Martial and Mage Gap that's trying to fix it. I love your suggestions. Hope you and your family are doing okay. Yeah, thanks. The thing with the Martial and Mage Gap is, like, I don't want to say it doesn't exist, because it does. Like, it definitely exists. But I don't know if it's an issue that really, like, needs that much fixing. Because, like, for as powerful as a fireball is, it's purposefully overpowered. But, like, a really optimized melee class destroys things. Just like one-shots bosses. And so I think a lot of the gap between mages and melee can be fixed with better DM encounter creation.
Yeah, I agree. Tactics.
Tactics, yeah.
If your DM uses tactics,
It's a
then
lot
it's
smaller.
then the gap is much smaller. Yeah,
Because what I see, if you have your mage here, and you have your warrior here, what I see is if you only have one target, the mage is going to suffer because that target is usually so powerful that like their spells just don't work.
Yeah.
But the warrior can still one-shot this guy. If you have 1,000 goblins, the action economy of I can one-shot each of these goblins is still going to take me 15 turns. I can fireball and kill all of them in one turn, right? So like the issue I see happening a lot is that people will min-max their characters so that they're super specialized for one thing, and then if that thing shows up, it's trivial, and if it doesn't show up, the character is useless. And that's where I feel like the mage to warrior gap is the most apparent, because it's just like, which thing are we specializing for? One target or lots of targets? And there's some really good mage spells out there for single targets, but like I said, if they're fighting a boss, it's rough. It's really rough. So, if you are the DM, sorry, and if you're not the DM, I'm not saying your friends are shit. It's just that's part of the thing about being a DM is trying to find that balance. And something that I've tried to do a lot with my encounter building is really focus on not the action economy per se, but like what actions I want the players doing in combat. Like what's the trick, the gimmick here that I want my players to have to interact with, and whether that's like the big boss is creating hazards that makes maneuverability and placement more important, or if they're summoning monsters in a way that threaten people so that this guy can't just run in and one-shot the boss. There's a lot of fun things you can do without just being like, I can't be hit right now. It's like, well, that sucks. Like, it has to be a choice. And so layer effects, I think, help a lot, as well as I pretty much always play with layer effects when I'm doing a boss fight, even if it's not like D&D. Doesn't necessarily have to be a layer battle. It's just like things should be happening each round that are separate from the actual encounter. I'm thinking about more options. Mages can buff, build bad, and still do something, while marshals can't do much in and out of combat. I'm the DM. I just had a boss fight, the Orb of the Undead. Just summon skeletons, I assume.
Yeah. I'm gonna push back a little bit on that, because marshals can do a lot. I think if we're talking 5e specifically, I think the Battle Master fighter is like a really good example of that. Like they get tons of stuff that they can do, but they're not the only class that can do that. They're just the golden example. So I think that monks always get a lot of stuff. Like Stunning Fist is basically a debuff, and if you're debuffing your target, then you're making the whole rest of your party just as effective, right? Like a debuff for the enemy is the same as a buff for the party. Right.
Yeah, stuns, that's the biggest thing about like Stunning Fist, and in Pathfinder now I've run into a whole bunch of well, this is stupid, that just exhausts them once so they lose one of their actions. It's like, yeah, you're trading one of your actions for one of their actions. That's perfectly balanced. That's great, because if you have a creature that can like grab, swallow you whole, it's like removing one of those abilities for them to eat somebody is really powerful.
It very much is, and especially if we're talking about action economy, it's usually the team with the greatest action economy is going to have a leg up. So if we're talking you're a party of 4 against one big old boss monster, and you've reduced their actions from 3 to 2, and your party has 12 actions, like that is hugely significant.
We were talking about hold on. Kid fall. You fall out of your tube.
Yeah. Also, like, I'm just gonna put out there, like, if we're talking about marshals, I know the artificer is not strictly speaking a marshal, but they've got a lot of martial stuff. They've got the best buff like possible, especially for skill checks. You can a number of times per day you can add your intelligence modifier to somebody else's check.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Wait, who is that?
The artificer in
Gotcha.
5e. Yeah. So it is one of the most powerful things, and like they're not really a spellcaster. They're something in between a marshal and a spellcaster. So
yeah, summoned a lot of undead, and I swarmed the players. I had a lot of fun, but man, I felt like I was cheating since I was close to killing them. No, I mean that's good. That's really fun. One of my favorite encounters is like a wall of undead. you just slowly push at the players. It's like if you get touched by this, it's gonna do swarm damage. That's it. And it's like, well, how are we supposed to fight? It's like you're not. There's a wall of undead coming at you. I want you to run. That's the whole gimmick here. It's an unwinnable fight. Now you have to subvert it, right? Kevin the Necromancer did that to us, but like he did it in a way that it was like a monster, and so we kept attacking it, and we're like, wait, are we not supposed to fight this thing? And he's like, no, you're gonna die. And it's like, oh, well, fuck us then. Why have we been doing this for the last like 8 turns? So. Yeah. Part of it is like knowing what's going on. Part of it is trying to figure that out. But I also like you should do a fight. Like when I did something like that, it was very much you fight this thing, you win, and then like the ground starts burbling up, and then wall of skeletons. It's like time to leave, Indiana Jones stuff. Yeah. So, in Nutkin. I think debuffing is the same as removing an action. It's not a good game design, in my opinion. I think debuffing in the sense removing an action.
In Pathfinder, in 2nd edition Pathfinder, it's really good.
I mean, it's stun, right? Stun is super powerful. So I was also going to say, like, from what you're talking about with how do you balance melee and mage class. In Pathfinder is broken and was banned in a lot of play.
Hold on, Rook, your mic just exploded.
How about now?
Still very loud, but the background noise is fun.
Weird. Okay.
I'll turn it down in Discord.
Oh, let me check my. Let me see what's going on here.
Sorry. Slow you down.
I think my AC kicked on. Might be what happened. So sorry if it's really loud. If it needs to turn off, I can go. It's louder on stream now as well. Weird. I don't know what happened. Maybe my mic wasn't plugged in all the way. Oh yeah, it's super loud all of a sudden. How's that? Nope. How about that? There we go. That was weird. I don't know what just happened there. I must have bumped a setting or something.
Maybe, I don't know. It's still really loud in Discord.
Test. That better?
That's clearer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better to me. Let's hear on stream.
No idea. I have no idea what just happened. Much better. Okay. Well,
much better. Okay,
we'll try that.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's all right. Summoner. We're talking about the summoner. Mm-hmm. I can't. Something broke.
I can still draw.
No, I can't.
Refresh.
Yeah, something.
Woo! Stream scuff.
Aggie exploded and apparently like blasted my microphone out of existence. I wonder if it like. Oh, I wonder if I. Yeah, I still can't draw. Oh, yes, I can. I'm drawing with brown, so I somehow picked up the background color. Okay, summoner. So the summoner was super powerful because you could summon 5 bears, and each of those bears, on their turn, could grapple somebody, and that was it. Which is essentially Black Tentacle, but with movement and hit points, right? So like, the fact that these things are melee wasn't the damage that was the problem. It was the fact that they could lock something down, and that's detrimental. So every time you look at a melee class and you're like, oh, they're not as cool because they're not outputting as much damage. It's like, don't output damage. Do something different. You know, the stunning abilities, the buffing abilities, negating damage by interfering with somebody through like Sentinel or just getting in the way of something is very powerful. And people don't look at it because it's not a metric that a lot of people take a look at. So like,
it's not dealing HP damage, and therefore it feels like it's not worth doing.
And that's my biggest gripe with I don't know the word I want to use because I don't want to be derogatory in any way to players. I was gonna say people that like moan about stuff about like my character's not optimal. It's like, you don't have to be optimal. Like you have to find a niche and you have fun with it, right? Like that's the big thing. So like min-maxing is only really a problem if no one else is min-maxing, and if everyone's min-maxing, then it's just chaos, and that's what you're doing, right? Like if you don't enjoy that, then don't min-max your character. So
if everyone's min-maxing, the problem it's a problem for the GM.
Yeah, and so like that's the thing I see with, and correct me if I'm wrong when you're talking about the gap, right? The fact that a level 1 barbarian is real good at killing stuff, but a level 1 wizard is real bad at killing stuff until you hit about level 10, and then the barbarian like kind of levels off and the wizard starts doing this, right? And so there's this gap where at the first part of the game the wizard kind of sucks, and the last half of the game the barbarian kind of sucks. I think that's what you're talking about when you're talking about the gap, and if not, correct me on that. And the way I've always tried to balance that is one, through gear. So like gear is a great way to get through that. That's why I like using dual classing from the OG GM guide before remaster. Dual class. Oh, just like multi-classing? Okay. More option, more power. Yeah, and that's my biggest problem with the like the min-maxing thing is essentially everybody just becomes the same build, right? It's like I'm a fighter warlock. I'm a cleric warlock. I'm a paladin warlock. Like it starts blending together. Or you dip into sorcerer just so you have a little bit of like sweet dragon powers. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what they did with Elden Ring, and unless you play fighter with everyone else. I love fighter. Fighter's great. It's kind of the thing they did for Elden Ring, which was new in the old Dark Souls. You really had to like hit one stat to be effective, but what they want you to do in Elden Ring now is they want you to pick a melee type and then a magic type, and then that becomes your build, right? So you pick the strength, dexterity required for your weapon, whether you want to use like finesse weapons or like a two-handed sword, and then they want you to pick faith, magic, or draconic powers. There's pyromancy and stuff, which is kind of a middle blend there, and then all of these become secondary stats to each other and makes a very, very powerful character, which is cool. Like it's an interesting way to do that, but like I really liked just picking single classes. So there's a handful of people I've seen that do really well with like magic, just doing straight magic builds. And the reason they did that is because these are secondary stats that are a little more powerful than the melee. So if you just negate the melee altogether, all of a sudden you become very overpowered. So the gap is in the sense of RP magic solves everything, and combat mages have a lot of options, while martials all you can do is hit. Well, yes, you can grapple, but monsters are so strong physically. Yeah, and that's kind of where I was getting at with. So that's a really good example of like the DM can correct it. If you have a group that is just dominating things all the time because the monsters are too big and the melees feel crappy, throw things in there that the melees have to deal with. Like so smaller creatures that are just trying to eat everybody, or animal handlers, or druids that are trying to get by, like things that are not going to be... The monsters themselves are designed specifically to be strong against the melee because humans are inherently weak against swords. so that's the balance of it, right? You have to figure out the way to make that a little more dynamic. And if you're only ever fighting big, scary monsters, yeah, the melee are gonna feel really weak because magic is the solution to that.
Yeah.
So I used to make things deal with magic users. Yeah, that's the Raven Master. That's the thing I always try to steer away from. Is that's a slippery slope of DM versus player, and you start getting the escalation of like, I took this, and it's like, well, I'm going to counter that, and then it's this, and it's like, you can't use magic, and it's just like, fuck you, and then a fist fight starts, right? It's just like, so, or monsters that cast concentration spells. Yeah, you can do that too, but
yeah. Another solution to this problem, because again, like the origin of this was including some sort of magic blight system where
right
to limit mages, right? But that like since like I really mean that I have played with that, I have actually tested that, and I really don't think that it works in any system that I've tried with Vancian magic system, which has been 5e first and second edition Pathfinder.
Which you have a kind of a I don't want to say what's the opposite of a soft spot? Chip on your shoulder? You have a chip on your shoulder for Vancian magic? So
yeah,
I don't know if I agree with you wholeheartedly that that's the core problem to it, but that's definitely a problem that causes it.
Yeah,
right?
no, and I don't think that this is a problem specifically with Vancian magic, and it has been my observation through like attempting to do this and through testing that Vancian magic does not jive well with this kind of limitation.
Sure.
Added on
And part of that, I think,
all it really does is add complication, which slows things down.
Well, okay. So here's where I will counter you with an example. Okay. The benefit to Vancian magic systems, which is spell slots versus like mana, is a simple way to look at it, is speed of play. And it is easier to balance. So saying that it slows gameplay down, like
I'm saying adding the complication to the Vancian magic system makes it.
Okay, yeah. That was my example. I was gonna say 4th edition essentially did that, right? Because they're like, what if instead of making the mages have weaknesses, we give the mage weaknesses to the melee and make the melee stronger? So everybody had spells and like physical things they could do. So wizards could just do like they had in combat maneuvers they could do, and fighters had like, I'm gonna put fire on my sword and stab somebody in the face. Like that's kind of the general idea of where like the Magus and the Eldritch Knight came from. But it made the game so slow because everybody was fucking around with it. So I honestly don't think it's bad though. It's not bad. It's just it's too hard to keep track of, which is where moving away from the Vancian system actually gets worse. When all of a sudden everybody's dealing with magic. It's like, I don't know how much magic I have. I don't know how much this I have. So I'm rolling some dice.
You really need some sort of at that point you really need something like a spreadsheet at the very least, or some sort of something to keep track of all of the data.
4th edition was essentially a video game. They designed a video game and they tried to make it run on paper and it was bad. So that's part of the limitations of tabletop RPGs. Is just the amount of data you have to keep track of. I make things have weaknesses that can only magic can. That can only magic. Alright, sorry, hold on. Let me read the whole sentence and I'll try to put this together. Things have weaknesses that can only magic or melee can affect. I think it's working so far. Okay, so that is a good way to start. The only problem with that is player limitations. And I'll give you an example. So I had a player that built a character that had way too much armor. Like, even in Pathfinder, he had like 45 armor. And he'd spec in all that. That's it. That's all he did. He just min-maxed armor. And so nothing I could put on the table could hit him, period. And if it could, it killed everybody else. Like, one-shotted everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that worked out for me initially was like, I'll start in Pathfinder specifically. I'll start using people with firearms because firearms bypass armor. And now all of a sudden I'm throwing combat at this guy that's just like, that thing you did? No, I'm negating it. I'm negating your build completely, and it was really frustrating for him. And we had to talk about it. He's like, this sucks. I've built my character around this thing, and instead of you adapting to it, you just negated it, and that's not fun. And so we talked about it, and I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I guess so. So what I should have been doing, and what I did moving forward, is essentially I took that thought in my mind, like, okay, he's immune to attacking. Like, things cannot hit him unless they crit, which is fine. How is that useful to the party, and how am I supposed to negate that? So if I put a bunch of 10 people in a room that they're supposed to fight, and none of them can hit him, my first thought is like, oh, well, none of them are going to attack him, right? No, each one of those people is going to walk up and try to stab him, realize that he can't be stabbed, and then they're going to try to figure out what else to do, right? Like, I have to start thinking about this, but I have to think about it from the standpoint that they have never met this character before. And so basically what his character did was absorb the first 2 or 3 hits from every character that ever tried to attack him, and then he had to start running interference because people don't want to attack him anymore. Like, they're like, well, we can't hit him. We're going to start we'll throw ropes at him, or we'll walk around him and try to get to the mages behind him, right? But if you don't do that initial attack where they walk in and try to fight him, it feels really shitty. And that's basically metagaming on the DM side, right?
Yep.
So what he did...
In the worst way possible.
In the worst way possible, yeah. So what he did is he built a character that fundamentally stole the first 2 rounds of attacks from everything on the field. And when you start looking at it that way, as a player build, it's really funny. And it's really cool, and I like that, right? Like, his character could not hit hard. He didn't have, a ton of magic. He had, I think he had some potions. He was an alcoholic, too. That was his downside, and he started drinking, he made himself addicted to black water, which is, gives you temporary hit points. So he got tougher, but, you couldn't eat food. It was a whole thing. And I think at one point in time, somebody was dying, and he just, gave them the drugs to get him back up. So, he didn't have any utility. He was just this weird, unkillable character. And it was really fun as a DM trying to think about it like that. Like, how do you build... Yeah.
I got addicted to black water.
Jump Rope got addicted to black water.
Because I didn't have... He could make the Constitution saves half the time, but I couldn't, and I was dead, and he just fed it to me.
Yep.
So I had to spend 3 weeks in rehab so I could eat food again.
Yeah. I usually make melee that sees magic as a needed thing to eliminate, and have had items that make getting it back lines easier. But I always foretold my players as being a thing ahead of time. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and that's... Druid, you said this a few times, oh, my players know that I do this kind of thing, right? That's one thing that kind of curtails this issue, is if your players just... If the DM is consistent and the players are consistent, that's when you start getting, really good back and forth. And that's why I was saying, if everybody's min-maxed because the DM kind of min-maxes, it can be a lot of fun, and it's just chaos, because it's just we're going to go punch Cthulhu in the face. And it's here we go.
But once again, you got to be clear. Everybody has to communicate that that's what's happening, because if anybody is not on the same page at that, it becomes GM versus players
real fast.
They
wanted to build a VTT with 4E, but the guy behind it died before it could be implemented. That makes a lot of sense, and I'm sorry to hear that. Right after 4E came out, Lone Wolf Software also started building. It might have been part of it. Started building the precursor to D&D Beyond, and I have a Lone Wolf. I think it's called What is it called? Shoot. Hero Lab. Yeah, Hero Lab was really cool. You had to pay for it and stuff, but I had it, and I used it for Pathfinder all the time, and I loved it. I remember when the melee guy was actually a fanatical BEBEG, and led to a rogue being able to do a lot of things that reduced that guys from the later in the fight after I made it force retreat back to 3.5. Gotcha. I play a lot more tacticals than enemies. Leave intelligent. Yeah. I mean, that's a big way to deal with it, is have your players be intelligent. Which is, I said, it's a lot more fun. And so after we started dealing with that, it was okay, now that you realize, if you build a character that's fully armored, you might not always have things going at you. And, whenever we ran into beasts, it was a lot of that. It was them just, chewing on him, and the party being okay, how do we deal with this? trying to get around it. He started building his character into more things that were Like I get multiple attacks of opportunity, or I can stun people like the sentinel feat and stuff. Because that's inherently where his character went. Like the tougher you get, now you have to start trying to save the squishies instead of just being invincible. So
Yeah.
I have the same mindset with one of my big bad evil guys, since he's super smart. He plays the players to gauge their weaknesses of the player characters. Okay. Yeah. I think I'm following what you're saying. I rolled a 3, which is a Tabaxi Ranger. Who looks like a hybrid between a Kakaro?
Caracal.
Caracal?
It's
clouded
a type
leopard.
of cat, like a savannah.
Gotcha.
I'll get you a picture.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
So
it's very good.
I guess we kind of, this is a long-winded, like a 40-minute discussion. that we got
Yeah,
off.
very much.
But I think where we're getting to is essentially, instead of trying to fundamentally change the characters the way they work, you can do a lot with just tactics and strategy and kind of trying to figure out how your players are playing, right?
Yeah.
Why is there a gap? That's the question.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's as simple as, like, if my character only wants to attack, you either need to give them reasons to not attack, or you need to give them things to augment their attack to catch it up to the wizards, because the magic is really powerful. Like,
Yeah. Designed to be that way.
because the other part about like, I cast fireball. Fireball doesn't really change. Like, you can use meta magic feats to like empower it or lengthen it or whatever the hell you want to do with it, but it's fundamentally static, right? Your level 1 spells are a specific type. Level 2 spells are a specific, like, yeah, you're choosing that. Melee doesn't have that. Melee is just sword. Sword. It's like, cool, but you can upgrade that sword. You can upgrade that sword a lot. And so if you feel like you want to throw a lot of AoE in there, or lots of little things for the mages to explode, give your players like a bursting flame sword, right? Like,
Yeah.
it does AoE damage when you attack with it. Or give them, what was it, the Ring of Daggers? Maybe, I don't know if Kevin made that up or if that was a real item. But essentially, like, it was a ring that when you, maybe it was made up. I think I made a video about it now, and now I'm referencing myself, which is not great. It's a ring that once per day you can throw a weapon, and with that ring, it turns into a cone attack. So you can hit everything in front of you. Because it just makes a whole bunch. It was supposed to be used with daggers. I think it was originally a dagger weapon, and I turned it into, like, use it with anything, because that's really fun. Like, throw 1,000 great swords at somebody. Super funny. Bam, 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 bam.
And like if all of this sounds like if you're still resistant to everything, to all of this, and you're still frustrated by the gap in, or the difference between marshals and spellcasters, it might be time to move on to a different system than 5e.
Play Pathfinder.
Because, yeah, I mean, you could play Pathfinder. You could go back to 3.5.
That's true.
Like, or if you
go back to second edition.
I mean, you've got options is the thing, right? And
Yeah.
if you want something that's not like so crunchy, if you like the simplicity of 5e, and you want something that's less crunchy and something that you could implement your kind of mage exhaustion mechanic into, you could go the other direction and try something like one of the Powered by the Apocalypse systems.
That's true, yeah.
Right. So there's just like, if you're frustrated with 5e, there's no reason to start like warping and twisting it into something else. Like, absolutely feel free to do that if that's what you want to do. If you want to get into game design, but if you just want to play a game and you're frustrated with how 5e is working, try a different game.
Now, to completely negate everything we talked about and go the complete opposite direction. I'm not playing devil's advocate here. I actually like this. I liked your original concept of the Overlord.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And here's why. Blood magic, I think, should 100% use hit points. Like, that would be amazing. Like, if you don't want to do Vancing and you just want, like, you want to straight up just have your spells selected. Every time you cast them, it costs you hit points to cast. I made a short about that a little bit ago. so for the math of it. But like, I think that would be awesome. Like Constitution casting, super broken. Don't get me wrong, super broken. But yeah, I like that concept. And so with the whole like fatigue thing, the reason I'm hesitant against that part of it is like fatigue is already a thing and it punishes melee really hard. And so if all of a sudden like, oh, the wizard is fatigued, it's like wizards don't give a shit. Basically, you get to fail 3 times and then you die. That's what that becomes for the wizard. It's like I get to fail this 3 times and then I explode. And with the other side of it is with feedback, like you can already do that with wild magic. Like try that with wild magic and just only take the detrimental stuff. And so if you critically fail a spell, like why you're not rolling spells for a reason. But if you critically fail like an ice bolt, I use the same rules as you do for melee. Like maybe it has a chance of hurting your players. It was the kineticist class in 2e. Oh, sorry, I totally missed the book. Might be Second Even Master from Magus or Summoner, but the second like strength builds are pretty popular. Yeah, this is a single cast stat. You can still do just straight strength, even though like with the strength faith weapons and stuff. Sorry, Corvus, I was not looking at Discord, and I totally missed it.
We ran away with the topic.
Yeah. You're very welcome to be in chat, by the way. Like, I'm not gonna yell at you if your mic freaks out. I just. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the Elden Ring thing.
Sure.
Yeah, so most weapons, except for hyper unique specialized weapons, which are not always the best weapons in game, you can change the Ashes of War, and thus changing the stats on your weapon.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
So, a popular thing to do now is to take the Ultra Greatsword, the Gut Sword, and add this new Ash of War called a Gravity Spin.
Ooh.
And have it set to the Heavy Affinity, which just gives it a scaling in strength.
So it's just double strength weapon?
Yeah.
Nice. Cool,
And
that's cool. That means that we're
so yeah,
bring it back.
I mean, it's been in since base game. It's just, it's a thing that people, like, who do PvP, like, understand probably more than casual players, where...
Yeah. So
like, obviously, bleed builds are still very popular, so those are the arcane builds, but it's like, you can easily do I won't say you can do a pure faith build, because a lot of enemies in late game are resistant or outright immune to holy damage.
So there's two schools of thought, and this goes back to Dark Souls 3, and for PvP specifically. And the reason those are good, and this is true for what I was just saying with the Bloodcaster as well. Like, single stat stacking is potent, right? The more you can put on one stat becomes more powerful, and the reason for that is that PvP in Elden Ring and Demon's Souls is based around level capping. So like they group people together. So let's say everybody's fighting at level 20. So the most you could have in one stat is like 100. This is bullshit numbers, I'm making it up. If you have to spread that 100 across a couple different stats, you're only going to be able to do so much damage. But if you can put all of it into 100, or all of it into strength, and get the most out of that 100 points, that's going to be very advantageous. And that's why people like you were saying, the bleed builds or the poison builds is what the old one was too, is because you don't have to put, it's less stat required because it's based solely around proc numbers. So if I hit you 3 times, you die instantly. Doesn't matter how much damage I do, right? Like that's super powerful too. So those are the two limitations you have versus like people playing the regular game, where the game developers want you to be about a certain level when you beat the game, and so they balanced it that way, right? They're like, we want everybody to have this much strength and so much magic, and at about this level, about 120, you should be able to beat the game. And people just try to find ways around that, right? Like, if you spam just magic, you can beat the game at around 90, I think. And mind you, there's people that beat the game at level 1. Like, there's a guy trying to do that. So like, this is all kind of bullshit. I was trying to make a joke, cat, just quick scribble, and I think I made a fantastic Mr. Fox character. I don't know what happened.
It does kind of look like that.
Yeah. Mage is my favorite class next to Bard. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Going back then to the comment I made about the Kesis, that was about your comment about Constitution casters. So technically they're not casting technical spells because they don't have spell slots, but they have spell-like abilities, and it uses your con mod.
So the Kesis, just to clarify, is really more of like a magically flavored monk, right? Like,
you can be.
You punch rocks at people.
Or fire blast.
Or fire blast, yeah.
Shards of metal out. Or a popular one is because you can buff the con damage if you don't.
I heard you can't buff the con damage because you can.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so way they do way to do spells now is you don't add your casting modifier to the spells anymore.
In what system? Oh, to damage?
In 2E.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
to damage.
To damage. So con is for your hit, but you don't add con to your damage. So
okay.
They first implemented that with the Kesis.
Has the coyote been drawn?
But a way you can get more damage out of your blasts is by taking the weapon infusion, where you can turn your elemental blasts into a weapon, which then you can add your strength mod to.
Oh, that's interesting.
And only your strength mod. So you can still get. So it's become a really popular build to do like a metal Kesis mixed with earth or something like that, where you can get armor and use the weapon infusions to do like melee elemental blasts.
Okay.
Where they take the form of like a weapon or whatever.
Yeah, that's interesting because like essentially what that's doing is it's allowing the spells to and that's got to be for like a Magus type build, right? That would make sense.
Yeah. It sounds like you're becoming a weapon summoner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because like the interesting thing with that is the champion gets to put free weapon enchantments on their weapons. Like that's paladins could do that in 5e as well. As essentially saying like as your class levels up, you become more adept with weapons through magic. But that's interesting because like that's the opposite. It's like as your magic gets more powerful, they become powerful weapons. Like that's kind of weird.
They can be if you take the feat, or you can just be a pure ranged blaster.
Yeah.
Because some of the elements want you to be at range, like the air and fire elements very much want you to be at a range, because a lot of their abilities that boosts or evolve around you either like flying away or like blasting away from someone.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So lots of maneuverability, combat maneuverability.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's good too. That's something that like we struggle with this as well in our games with Druid. Like we constantly tank and spank, like 100%.
Yep.
And it's like, no, I wanna let's do this and then everybody move and nobody moves. And it's like, well, fuck. And so like it's one of the reasons I kind of want to stop playing Finite. Finite is really fun. Like he's a really fun champion fighter, but I designed him to be able to like dart around and help people in combat, and like I'll put him some. Actually, with the new updates, I think he's gonna be really good. But as is right now, and this probably is the problem that a lot of people had, which is why they changed it in the remaster. I'll set myself up to fight, and then everyone will move around me to get into combat. And it's like, no, stop. Like, let me be right here. I want to be right next to you guys. And then people move around me again. It's like, God damn it. Like, stop moving out of my 15-foot range.
It's mostly because almost everyone is a squishy caster.
Yeah.
So they don't want to be next to the enemy.
Right. But that's the problem. Like, that my character only functions if he's close to somebody. So, like, he's designed specifically to like cluster fight, but he's a melee. So like he's really good at augmenting another tank. Like that's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Special
Where
officer.
you guys,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Where you guys tend to run into problems with my encounters too is when I try to use tactics and mobility to outmaneuver you guys.
Mhm.
That's always been the place where you guys have
Struggles,
issues,
yeah.
because I tend to back you guys into a corner, and then finally I was like, this is why everybody needs to be next to me.
Yeah. It's like, come on, what's happening?
Yeah, we honestly the only one of the few characters that we have that probably would work best with Fine Eye, mechanically speaking, would be Somar, who is a swashbuckler.
Yeah,
who
Somar's great.
Could probably get hit pretty easily, but has to stay pretty close to the enemy because they're a melee fighter.
Yeah. With the swashbuckler rework, it will be interesting to see how Somar changes.
Yeah.
If you decide to revamp him. I know you haven't played him in a bit.
Yeah. The remaster is gonna be good, I think, for a lot of classes. So.
I initially wanted to try to make a Rascal, which is the new one with the dirty trick stuff, but uses like throwing knives.
Nice.
And I don't know if I can make that work just yet, because you have to use dirty trick in melee. And if like I'm using throwing knives, like you kind of don't want to be in melee, so it's like.
So that was my old build. Zaz the Frost Ninja.
Let me just quickly add something real quick,
ahead.
because they do have ways of doing melee maneuvers at a range, but just not dirty trick at the moment. So that may be something I have to wait for a new feat or something to come out. So
I sense the Beerus from Dragon Ball getting drunk. Yeah, a little bit. He's might be a little bit too Sphinx Cat, but we'll feel it out. I made a character that was a glorified bless buffer and gave people advantage. It's so good that couldn't do anything else. It was so good. It's fun. I like doing that too. Yeah, I think most painful thing is to be mid-ranger or like a tanky spell user. I once had a big cat man who fought with Yarn. He's the master at spells. That's great. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like that's always rough because it's like I need to be close, but I don't want to get hit. I'm gonna get close. So yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Me with every druid I've ever played.
Druids are a great example of that, which is why they can turn into bears.
Yes.
So I had a ninja, which I loved, the ninja build in Pathfinder 1. Because I had Flurry of Stars, which I think still exists now, where you can throw shurikens. And at level like 8 or 9, you could throw like 12 in a turn. It was ridiculous. It was a lot.
Yeah.
But the problem was like you couldn't do it right next to the person. And so basically my turns went, on the first turn, I run at somebody because they only have a 15-foot range. And then I throw a shit ton of stars at them. And then on their turn, they step up and punch me in the face. So then on my next turn, I have to use feint or disengage, which I think I had the ability to, like, if you disengaged, you could step. There was something I had with it where it was like, this was my thing was, like, step back, throw a few stars, and then see if they keep engaging me. And as soon as someone else got up, it's like run away, throw a shit ton of stars. So like building that into the rotation of like using feint to stab somebody. That's what it was. It was throwing stars. They'd walk up, feint, stab, back away, and then try to reset. Worked out quite a bit because you can give yourself advantage. You basically give yourself advantage if you succeeded on the feint. And so then it didn't matter that I wasn't throwing stars or that I could get my sneak attack damage off by throwing a few stars. But having those little abilities in there that aren't just poor damage really make the characters a lot more fun in my mind. Have a great stream. Hope everyone's here. Yeah, no problem, Alexander. And once again, I will probably be streaming next week, but it's going to be weird. I'm promising it right now. It's going to be weird. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll catch you next time, Alexander. Yeah.
Join us for the dumpster fire. It's going to be very entertaining, probably.
It ain't going to be a dumpster fire.
It might be a dumpster fire.
Me and you will be here.
You never know.
That's true. It might just be you two. Who knows?
Druid takes over Rook's channel
Yep.
while he's on paternity leave.
I mean,
It's only going to be for a
probably
few
do
months.
a stream.
We just have to wait until the kid is old enough to sit up by themselves, and I can put them somewhere and give them their own screen to draw on, and then we'll be fine.
Gotta teach him how to use the internet early
Yep.
nowadays.
Oh, it's bad. It's so bad. Like, the funniest thing is, if I like whip my phone out while holding him, he immediately just like locks onto it. Just like, what's that?
Seriously?
What's that? Show that to
Oh,
me.
no.
And it's like, nope, that's not happening. And it's the same thing with like, if I'm holding him while playing Final Fantasy or something. As soon as anything starts moving on the screen, he just shuts off. He's like, let me look at that. It's like, stop it, kid. Like, you're not allowed to look at this anymore. I'm so terrified.
Get some help.
So immediate. It's just like, I was born addicted to this. Please.
Yes.
Please show me the flashy colors.
What it's
Gotta love
designed
Gen
for.
Alphas.
Yep.
Also, now back to the post I shared earlier.
So what post was it?
It was the it was the article thing from Wargamer.
I might have missed that. I'm so sorry.
It was a tweet. So Wargamer does tabletop RPG news,
Okay.
and they released the first little bit for a new Pathfinder book that's coming out in 2025.
It's coming out 10 years ago.
Yep. And it's like about schools of magic, like
Nice.
magic schools, not like as in evocation or whatever, but like
Harry Potter.
an actual academy.
Okay.
Yep.
So Hogwarts. And I'm having a feeling that this will probably also include the remaster for the Magus and the Summoner.
Nice. Yeah.
They've not said anything, but they may wait a bit for that.
Gotcha.
So, because this was
Strixhaven.
just like, yeah.
Pretty
In a
much.
way, it's kind of like that.
I liked Strixhaven in as like a concept. I love magical schools. Like that's something that has to exist for a whole class of wizardry to happen, right? Like
Yep.
I love that. I love that concept. I'm very happy about it. Fuck silvery barbs. Like that was the stupidest shit.
Oh, so bad.
It's just like,
It was,
did your Magic the Gathering people design this spell? Like what happened here?
what if we make a cantrip that's better than
yes.
Fireball?
I kid you not. The Magic the Gathering team worked on it.
There you go.
That
Makes a lot of sense.
makes so much sense to me.
This sounds really fucking cool. Let's not play test it. Get out of here. Get out of here.
This is gonna break the game. So, who cares? It's not breaking the game. It's just making a new meta.
Just say it's not standard legal. That makes sense. That
That's the best part. Is like that's essentially what I've done. It's just like Silvery Barbs is great for like the legacy villains in that universe.
Yeah.
Not legal in any other format. Like,
I think I would allow it, but with the caveat that enemies can also use it on you. Because, like, everyone seems to forget that you can fight spellcasters.
yeah.
And
So
it's a low enough spell that people could probably pick it up.
in all honesty, I would probably let people use it because I honestly don't care when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like if you want your character to be powerful, fine. But like at the end of the day, it's just like it's one of those things that the development team is just like shame on you guys.
Yeah.
Like what the hell
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Y'all dropped the ball.
Kid turns into a comic artist by 5. I'm kind of wondering. Like my mom was very crafty. Like my mom always had me doing little just dumb art craft project things. And like that's basically what I do now for a living. So it's like, okay, what am I going to instill in this kid's brain that's just going to haunt him for the rest of his life?
I will say, with this new book that's coming out, will be coming out next year. I'm looking forward because one of the schools they're talking about is the University of Leppenstadt, which is if you take
The gay
the
vampire?
idea of no, that's Lestat.
Sorry. Continue.
Leppenstedt. It's basically if you take the idea of Victor Frankenstein and turn it into a university.
Interesting. Okay.
So they use a lot of like lightning based things. So they like quote how which teaches you how to use small lightning coils to restore HP to your allies.
Oh God.
So it's like, which was something that was already established in Pathfinder. They're now just like expanding upon it, which is nice.
High electricity, low moral fortitude. What's the? Dang it! I fucked up my own joke. Ethical, no ethical standards.
Well, yeah, that school is definitely that. I mean, it's not just like weird science stuff. It's like a lot of investigators go there, and like,
yeah,
a lot of investigators kind of come out of that school in the lore, in the setting, and like, but there's also a little Frankenstein monster that got burped into bowels of that university and is like roaming the hills.
Oh, that's funny. I am always a little. I hate the steampunk aesthetic. So I'm always a little hesitant, a little on the fence about that. Like, right, what you're talking about, just like the weird electrical, sciencey, Percy stuff. But like, I still love it. I still think it's great. Like, I love the science aspect of it, and I love like the Jules Verne aesthetic. And I think it's like the froofy, like high up class aristocrat part of it that I don't like about steampunk. So I'm kind of excited for this, but also
this is
pensive.
Pretty good. So the left side of this picture is like people from that university I'm talking about in another school. So that's probably the general aesthetic you'll see with them.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So it's just
more like Mecha Gnome than Victorian, which is great. That's perfect. I'm super excited.
With a healthy like flavoring of like Eastern Europe, because where this university is like high Gothic Romania.
So long as it's not not what the hell's the guy's name from Wild Wild West? The spider leg man.
Oh, Loveless.
Loveless, there we go. Yeah.
I forget that movie exists.
It's not a bad movie.
It's very entertaining.
Will Smith regrets ever being in it.
Oh, I
which
bet.
is hilarious.
I don't blame him. I have never managed to watch the whole thing.
Oh, really?
And I'm also not entirely sure what the plot is.
There's a train.
Would you like a rundown?
No.
It's not good. I remember it not being good because I don't remember what the plot is either.
There's a train. There's aliens, I think.
Nope, that's a different movie.
No. Oh, okay.
That's Cowboys versus Aliens.
Smith movie.
But I understand your confusion because I think of that all the time too.
So very much steampunk. The two characters, because it's based off an old TV show.
Well, it's based off an old TV show that was based off an old comic. Yeah, like it's sci-fi. It's like the first sci-fi western is essentially what it was.
Yep. And so you have like Will Smith's character, who is a U.S. Marshal, and then you have Artemis, who is a Secret Service agent.
It's essentially Q.
Yeah.
I build all the kind of the weird technology things.
Yep. And they're fighting against this guy who's trying to resurrect the Confederacy and cut apart. And like
I forgot that's what it was.
Yeah. And he claims Utah as his own personal like territory, which is funny.
Yeah.
And so he's like, he pulls down this map and shows like 13 colonies goes back to England. Louisiana, a good portion of the west goes back to Spain, and another portion goes back to France. Except for this small section that he claims as his own.
Yeah,
I'm
Mormons
like,
aren't
oh my
giving
God.
that up. Sorry, dude, Mormons aren't giving that up.
Yep.
Why is it so painful to be leveled in spells and tanky? Because you have to. It's that's why charisma casting is not a thing.
Yeah.
That's exactly why. That being
I
said,
mean Constitution.
yeah.
Constitution test.
You can be, but you don't do damage with your spells. So, like, the two really funny things I've seen. One, the in 5e specifically, the Abjuration Wizard, super fun, super tanky.
Yep.
But if you get hit, you explode, and that's kind of the fun of it.
Yep.
It's kind of the fun of it.
Another one is like the Blade Singer.
Blade Singer's
where
good.
You get very much the same thing. You get hit, you explode. And I think you do get because you get the benefit, I think, of light armor with that one.
I think so,
but
yeah.
It's still like you do get like a good like shield around you, but it's like, yeah, no, if someone gets through that, you're just gone. You're red mist in the wind.
So
The reason that in general it is difficult for most spellcasters to be spellcasty and tanky is so that spellcasters don't completely overwhelm the fighter, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise the game would be unbalanced.
So
Which takes us back to the old argument that I don't want to rehash.
yeah, which is fine. I think it was a good conversation.
Yeah.
So like that's a big part of it. There are a lot of spells that make you tougher, which is great, like Bark Skin, shield spell, summoning shields and weapons, and like prismatic sphere. But it's not the traditional tank and spank, which is great. So like there's a lot of really fun things you can do with it. Like Armor of Agathis, so you have to be able to take a little bit of a hit, but you can give yourself temporary hit points. That's another way to do it. You just keep refreshing your hit points every turn. The other way I've seen, this was really funny. I had a friend who would run into combat, cast grease on the floor, and then levitate to the ceiling. That was all he had. That's all he did. And then as soon as people were like, fuck you, I'm over here, he's like, I float over here, and I cast grease on the floor. And it's just, that was the whole character. And so they were constantly pissed off at him, constantly chasing him around. And if somehow they like got close to him or he couldn't levitate, wall of air or like wall of force, and just like, nope, I'm over here, fuck you. And they're just like, wah. So like he was a tank, but he was like a passive aggressive tank, I guess. Like the idea was that things could not get to him, not that they couldn't hit him, they just couldn't get to him.
Yeah.
He was immune to arrows. He was immune to like physical people trying to grab him because he just cover himself in grease. And he's just like, nope, I'm not dealing with this.
Hey, I just really like that version of tanking myself. Like either like tanking as a way of like putting down,
like a dodge tank or just a mitigation, like.
I'm trying to think of words.
Okay,
Hang on.
sure.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I guess hazards.
Sure.
So in a way, like kind of confining someone into a spot. I guess
what do we
control
call
is the term.
Yeah, crowd control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or battlefield control or manipulation.
Because like, even
why
like
I
trappers,
tend to
right?
like yeah. Hence why I like a lot of the kit that druids get access to, where it's like throwing down a mess of vines and thorns, where people can trip and fall on their face and get stabbed with thorns.
Yeah. The other thing about these are these kind of spells is that they don't have to be. A lot of people will like dip into Warlock or something to get access to some of these. You can also like dip into Druid to like get Barkskin and stuff. But you can also do it the other way. You can be a wizard and then dip into fighter for the armor proficiency, or you can just take a feat for armor proficiency, and then you have to deal with things like spell failure rates in some editions of the game. But for most situations, like it's worth it, especially if you're not worried about like casting fireballs and stuff all the time. You're not trying to hit somebody with direct cast spells. You're just touching yourself with spells. It's not that big of a deal. It's like, yeah, whatever. There's also a couple things you can do to make the armor better at that too. So,
yeah. I'll also say there in some versions of the game, like in 2e, the mage armor spell is just you summon a little magic armor around you that scales depending on what level you cast it at. So,
and I think the reason they did that is so that you can't do what I'm talking about. because there was a lot of what used to be wear hell armor and then give yourself more armor, and that's how like my friend got stupidly powerful, especially like clerics. Clerics are like, yeah, I have 46 armor. It's like, what? It's like, I don't have a shield, but I have a magical bubble, and my armor's really good, and I can make my stats go up. And it's like, okay. So now it's just like, no. When you cast mage armor, that is your armor. You have to wear the mage armor. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I've been toying around with the ideas of lesser versions of the Pathfinder 1 spells for increasing attribute bonuses, like Bear, Cat, Owl, and such. Yeah, they have that in 5e, but they condensed it, I think.
Yeah, it's all one spell, right?
And then
you
pick.
You choose the animal and the aspect that goes with it.
Which is plus 4.
I forget what it's called.
So if you're saying you want to do like a smaller version of it, I think that's fair. I generally like something they used to do for Pathfinder 1 was the like headbands. The headbands, you get like a +2 int, and then the next one's a +4 int, and then the next one is +2 of each, like strength and dexterity or whatever. So it's like a belt of fitness or something. That's kind of fun. You can kind of do that. So instead of doing spells, you could just do it as magical items. I think that would work out just fine. But
They now kind of have those in 2e, but they're now like super high level items referred to as apex items, which just give you a passive boost of 4 points to the stat
So,
of the item.
Pathfinder 2nd Edition is trying to deal with their ability creep, like by putting caps on the amount of bonuses you can get at which level, but still having a much higher curve than 5e does.
Yeah.
Lower AC is fine, but I want higher HP. Yeah, I mean, like be a sorcerer with a shit ton of constitution is really funny. Like the Dragon Disciple is really funny when you're like, oh yeah, I have the same amount of HP as the Barbarian, or like a Blood Rager. Really funny. I really love that. I missed
I'm ready
something.
To roll, by the way.
Go for it. Hit me with a D6. We don't have that many.
Yeah.
If people have not suggested something this week, please suggest.
Yeah. add to the list. Also, the number 2, the Burly Barbarian Satyr dude, I drew that Wednesday.
Oh,
That was my last one.
gotcha.
Yep.
And I roll a 2, so it's a good thing that I brought that up.
A small Tarask.
Marvel has Jeff the Land Shark, so why not a character like that, but a Tarask? Okay.
Okay.
You gotta protect the skids,
Grasky.
Jeff.
Yep. Hold on a second.
Alright, I need to see. I need to look up Jeff the Land Shark, because I...
Shark with legs. Like, pupper-sized shark with legs. Super adorable.
Oh my gosh, he's so cute! Because I was, because like a boulet or bullet or however you want to say it, that's what I thought a land shark was.
Do I have to explain the land shark again?
Jeff the land shark?
Well, Jeff the land shark is different, I think. But the land shark joke is Saturday Night Live.
I never got fully understood why people refer to as bullets as land sharks, because they don't look like sharks at all.
Depends on the art. Super depends on the art.
Must be a Pathfinder thing, because in D&D they are just like smooth scaled, almost like torpedo-like shaped, and just kind of swim through the water, but ground.
Yeah.
Swim meaning dig. The boulets, as I like to call them.
So this one does not look particularly shark-like, but it is the coolest boulet art I've ever seen, and it is in the Pathfinder 1e Bestiary.
Okay, now that's definitely a bit more shark-ish. It has a dorsal fin.
Yeah.
So.
And Pathfinder's always emphasized that. I think probably more than 5e did.
Yeah. They actually just straight up call them land sharks on their wiki.
Anyway, now I need a
Turquoise. Yeah, that's a weird picture of the boulet, which is not how I
That's
pronounce it.
Yeah, most of the art I see of a boule is you can tell that it is derived from one of those super shitty dollar store plastic dinosaur things that you buy 100 of them for $1 for kid toys. All right.
I would like to about them never looking like sharks. 2E's version of them.
Ugh.
Not 2E like as in Pathfinder, but 2nd edition D&D.
Yeah. That is so goofy looking.
Yeah, most art from 2 is.
I mean, I think that's really funny. I think they always, to me, I actually like that with the giant fin, but I think they're supposed to be like bullet bills, is what I always thought they were supposed to be like. So I don't know. The name is the thing that bothers me, because them calling anything that would crawl into the ground like that, I would call it a land shark. But especially if it popped out and ate you, it's not like a giant worm.
Yeah, so.
Is it food time, kid?
Like 5
Yeah.
different ways of saying
It's food time.
the name of them.
Sorry, can you say that again? There was a screaming child.
And also maybe adjust your mic again.
Oh, did it freak out?
It's been getting robot-y
Okay.
and spotty.
Hold on. Hold on.
Not you, Corvus.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, I had to mute myself and I smacked my mic to do that. There's a spell that makes you intangible or able to swim through stone. Yes, there is. You can meld with stone is one of them. What's the other one? There's a couple of
Earth
them.
glide.
Earth
in
glide?
Pathfinder.
Okay. I think that's also meld with stone. No, it's not. Because meld with stone just allows you to pass through stone. And you can hide
Yeah, I
in it.
think
Earth glide
I
is
think-
like you have to stride and you can shoot really fast.
Yeah. I don't think there is one.
In
I
D&D
don't
5.
think there is one in 5e.
Uh,
You gotta get turned into an earth elemental for you to do that, I think.
Hello?
Hello.
Welcome back. God, Trasks are so ugly. How
I was trying to see if there was any like IRL history for bullets. There's none.
Okay. Meld
No, I'm-
into stone is a 5e spell. It's a level 3. Level 3 transmutation spell.
But what I was saying while it was being heard is Earth Glide is generally a creature ability of Earth Elementals
Gotcha.
or bullets.
Yeah.
So it would generally require you to turn into something that easily swims through stone.
In first edition Pathfinder, and I'm going to assume a 3.5 and third edition of D&D, it is also a spell.
Okay. Yeah, the closest thing I can think of is
Blood Ragers get it. Interesting.
the hell is it called? There's a wizard spell where you phase out of existence. I can't think of what it's called though.
Blink?
Yeah, blink, because blink like puts you in the ethereal plane. So like,
Yeah.
you could technically shift, move through a wall. I mean, just like if the wall isn't there on the other side or something. But that's kind of bullshit. So sorry, I cut out for like 30 seconds. Yeah, I think so. Meld into stone is I think your best bet.
No.
There's also, what was the other one? Oh, ink. Like you can paint a door on a wall. That I think exists in 5e.
Oh yeah.
Those are really fun.
There's also pass wall, where you just create a tunnel.
Oh really? Is that a spell?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
What was my
I
best
think
bet?
it's a super old spell.
So you're telling me if I go Moon Druid, I can phase through walls? I mean, kind of.
Or
Anyways.
go with the Phantom Rogue, because they also get etherealness, and basically you get the Ghost Walk.
Ghost Walk. That might be what it was. I had something that I gave jump ropes. What the hell are they called? The weird Shadow Rangers. Gloomstalkers.
Gloomstalkers?
Yeah, I gave her Gloomstalker the ability to go intangible. That was pretty cool. Can't remember how I did it though. It was a tattoo, but I feel like it was a tattoo of a spell that existed, but that might just be Pathfinder. That was the Gloomstalker was 5e, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember what I called that needle I gave you? I'll look it up on D&D Beyond. Let me check. Do I still have a D&D Beyond account? That's the real question.
Probably.
Am I
If
still
you're not paying for it
this?
anymore, you might not have as much stuff on it as you did, but
Oh, I'm probably still paying for it. Just haven't used it in a while. What just happened? I just typed D&D Beyond in here, and now my computer is being stupid. Like he casually just swims through stuff? I wanted to make a character that can swim through walls. I mean, you could get a character that can burrow. Just burrow through stuff. Or you could play a ghost. I would highly suggest playing a ghost.
yeah.
Which I think would be really fun.
As long as you don't have a cleric on the team.
You do not have an account. Well, great. Authorized.
Well, then I hope you're still not paying for it.
Yeah. I might have used the wrong email. Hold on. Swim like a squid, but my DM doesn't allow that stuff. Well, that's not making a lot of sense. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, you're asking for your DM to allow you to do something that inherently breaks the game.
Yeah.
'Cause
So you
could just be intangible, right? Like you're wanting to swim through walls and ground. So she doesn't like homebrew. Or doesn't allow homebrew. Yeah, that's kind of the problem. And this is why, because essentially what you're asking for is to play a ghost. Like you're asking for the powers of being intangible without any of the ramifications of being intangible, right? So you have these spell options, which I think are good options. But if you want to do it as like a continual thing, you're gonna have to be a druid that can turn into an earth
elemental.
earth elemental.
Or
That's the way to do it via the rules.
So the truth of the matter is, like, a lot of GMs will let you get away with shit, but like all of the GMs that will let you get away with shit because they think it makes sense for you to be able to do it are the same sort of DMs that are going to pull out all of the stops and pull Uno reverse cards and make your life a living hell. I say as a DM who does this sort of
Yes,
stuff.
I do this thing all the time.
Yeah.
Druid is a monster. Never play with them. As a joke.
As long as we're all communicating, it usually works out. There's only occasionally hurt feelings.
Okay, I found it. It's in Tasha's. It's in Tasha's cauldron. It's called the Ghost Step Tattoo. It gives you ghost form 3 times a
that's
day.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Oh wow, 3? That's excessive.
That's
For
from
5th
Tasha's. It's in Tasha's. I'm not surprised.
Oh, I take it back. You can use it 3 times.
Oh. 3 times period.
That sounds more accurate. How expensive is it?
Let me read this.
Consumable.
Rare. To attune to this item, you hold the needle to your skin where the tattoo appears, pressing the needle through it, blah blah blah. The attunement process complete, the needle turns back, blah blah blah. The tattoo ends, the tattoo vanishes, and the needle reappears in your space. It has 3 charges, and it regains all expended charges daily at dawn. So it is 3 times a day. Okay, yeah, it is 3 times a day. You gain resistance to bludgeoning. You can't be grappled. You can move through creatures and solid objects as if they were difficult terrain at the end of each turn. And some objects do take damage. So you do take damage if you end inside of a wall. And it only lasts for 1 turn.
Me.
So 3 rounds. Ghost tattoo.
Don't get stuck in a wall.
It's called Ghost Step. It's a Ghost Step tattoo. Still haven't really gotten players to use the consumables that aren't potions and elixirs. Yeah, you really have to you have to either give them the inherent feeling that they will get more of consumable things. Like, instead of giving person here's 1 potion, have them find a person that can make potions, right? It's like, oh yeah, you can get more of these whenever. That will kind of get rid of the fear of I don't want to use this and it'll be gone forever. Or you can give them consumables that recharge, right? Like, I'm a big fan of potion flasks that just count as a potion once per day, kind of Elden Ring style again, where it's just that way they're like, oh yeah, if I don't use this by the end of the day, I'm wasting it. So it's like, yeah, get in there and use those. So I'll generally do that whenever somebody if you have a party that is low healers, like if you just have all melee, give everybody potion usage. It's great, and that's another thing that they can level up, which I think is really fun. So yeah, there's a couple different ways around that kind of stuff. I wanted to give this cat person a big kind of billowy mantle, but I don't know what I'm doing here. Me. With talisman and such items. Still haven't gotten any player. Yeah. What's in Tasha's Cauldron? Tasha's Cauldron is 5e. It's just a source book. Yeah, it's a source book. But
Yeah, it's like a source book.
It's essentially was written for people who don't like homebrew.
Yeah.
There was a lot of homebrew functionality that just wasn't in the game, and because of it, people weren't allowed to really customize and augment their characters through what's the free play called? Adventure League?
Adventure, yeah. Adventure Path.
And so for Adventure League, they put Tasha's in there to be like, okay, here are some customization options for everybody to use. So now you can have just because you're a dwarf and you want a different starting stat, Tasha's allows you to do that. So
yeah,
Tasha's Cauldron's great.
It's also basically kind of what started the ball rolling on the whole 5.5 edition that's coming out, or has come out. Also, yeah, I don't like the talismans in Pathfinder 2e.
They're weird. I have one. What is it? I have the fear one. And it's come and play a few times, but
well, it's gone now. If you use it, it's gone.
Yeah, I Finny can make them, so I've been buying them.
Oh, okay.
But that's what I'm saying. They're consumable. You wear them, and sometimes they work. And there's been a few times where the fear goes off. It goes off, and I still get feared. And it's okay, that was, I guess, like 15 gold or something, or 5 gold. It's not very powerful, so I probably just need to buy the next upgraded version of it. But, yeah, they're kind of lackluster. I'm not... I think the Talisman Crafter is the probably the best way to look at them and use them.
Yeah.
Or, once again, like, it would make a lot of sense if, hey, we're going to go fight the undead or banshees or something, and you meet somebody that's like, you guys should take these talismans with you. They might save you once, right? Like, I like the concept of how they work, but fundamentally they're not good everyday use items, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. They really do feel like they're built more for campaigns that might be more like a Tomb of Annihilation or like Curse of Strahd. This is the thing that you need to as backup.
Yeah.
Or when the shit hits the fan.
Weird, creepy witch lady, shows up and like gives something to everybody because it's going to be useful for the party, but everyone's like, I don't want to wear this. What's going on? Like, I think that's really fun, like thematically, as kind of a way to give your players a, hey, heads up, you guys might be fighting banshees later.
Yeah, because there's talismans and there's spell hearts and then there's catalysts. And spell hearts are like talismans, but they're permanent, and you have to affix them to either a piece of armor or a weapon.
Okay.
And they do different effects. Catalysts are essentially talismans, but you use them in conjunction with casting spells. And they add like other effects to the spell.
Weird.
But it's just like, when I was doing the those 2 adventures I run for you all, I would roll for loot on this website, and it's just almost all times there was like 5 talismans. Like, no one's gonna use these, no one's gonna want these. They're just gonna sell them, so I might as well just give them gold or something else.
I've found some pretty cool random loot tables are fun from time to time, but most often than not they're just garbage, right? It's just random loot.
Yeah.
So I like to use them, but it's very much a, like, you found this thing, it's worth this much gold. Take it or leave it. So,
yeah.
I think
I'm not smart and a great DM, so that's why I use the tables. 9 tables, just like it's a random generator, like click a few times, and
it's a fantastic time saver. I use a random loot table or generator for our campaign, but like what I do is I generate like 10 different lists, and then I go through and be like, that could be useful. I can build environment. I can use that to build some storytelling into the encounter. That one will be useful, and then I like scrap the other shit.
But also a thing that pops up in addition to talismans is runes, and I always forget, like, oh yeah, you can give runes as a reward because there's rune stones.
Yep, which I think is great. Which I used to give people. I think that's a really smart way to look at the game design. I think that's something that Pathfinder 2 did a really good job with.
Yeah.
Because, like, going through a dungeon and being like, you found a sword of +1 fire. It's like, I have a +1 fire axe. Fuck that sword. It's like, yeah, cool. Like, magic items are useless now. So, like, being able to actually, like, rip them apart and take the runes off things, I think is great. Like, just like, that's a really cool weapon. I wish it was on my weapon. It's like, yeah, do that. It costs 50 gold. Like, it also adds a level of, a way of pulling gold out of the game. Like,
yeah.
Which is really smart. Something you need to find out. I don't think they're good because use case, since they're not rechargeable on a daily basis. Yeah, they're just consumable items. So, it is what it is.
Pathfinder's good because Pathfinder has an actual money system attached to it. It is actually significantly better consumable wise than 5e in my opinion, because you don't have to have an argument with your GM about how much potions cost, which means that you can find better use cases for all of the consumables.
Right. There's the I think the problem that happened in 3.5 and Pathfinder, and then they kind of like they tried to correct, was the overabundance of gold, and like
Yeah.
second edition, XP is gold is kind of their mentality, and 5e's mentality was, I don't fucking know, make it up. And so it's like
Yep.
which made it really hard for people to judge how much gold and stuff they should be giving to people.
Yeah, or
But-
how valuable magic items
Right.
and potions and consumable items were worth.
Yeah, because 5th edition works off not as a item level system like 2E does, but over a rarity system.
Right.
So it's like you have common, uncommon, rare, legendary, or whatever, and then there's also like different stages of wondrous items, because you can have a uncommon wondrous item that doesn't automatically make it a legendary thing, because like there's probably quite a few little statues of, I don't know, onyx statue of a crow or
Right.
whatever.
And the problem I've seen with that system is because it's so simple. Like there's the issue of commonality, right? Like, oh, this is rare, so like all rare things are worth the same, and it's like that's not true at all. Like that's not how this works. And
I mean, that's not even the rule in the book though either.
right, that's what I'm saying.
It's just like there is a
weird.
price range. It's like rare items tend to be this to this price range.
Yeah, and it's hard for people to kind of dig through that, I think.
Yeah. It's like that
Especially-
tweet I sent you this morning. Read the freaking book, people.
Yeah, read the book.
It may not give you all the answers, but it can send you on the right path.
But I don't want to read.
That's too damn bad. To quote Hose. Another weird item that they've been adding into 2 is gadgets. And it's just like,
That's just a wondrous
What?
item.
then just like have it as a magic item
Yeah.
or a.
This
You don't
is
have to make a special category.
this is my problem with Pathfinder 2e. Like this is the
Yep.
problem I constantly run into that I am frustrated with the most, and it is the over classification of things, because like the difference between bullets, alchemical bullets, and magical bullets mean that these are in 3 completely different fucking places in the book. And it's like,
Yep.
but I want to look at all the bullets. Like, what's going on? And
I need a place for all of the ammunition my gun can shoot. Please.
yeah, and it's so frustrating. And that was the problem when they first came out. I think they kind of realized this, and that's why they've moved to the tag system. But it doesn't help with books, because because like the book was like 900 pages, and they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll reclassify things, and it's like, just make it digital. It's like, digital works, like the digital works, but like in a lot of places it doesn't, because I'll be in Foundry and I'll be like, okay, I want to buy bullets. How do I search this? You have to search the different
Oh,
places.
God.
It's bad. It just doesn't work. So
Yep, especially for Foundry. Like in
Foundry search functionality is too cumbersome. You can't just type
Yep.
in and search for tags.
and then like
How long?
Archives does a really good job, but you also have to like wait on the guy to update it, because like
Yeah, you can't be mad.
they
at that.
yeah, we can't fault them for that.
How dare
You
you
got
do this
Path
thing for me
Builder.
for free?
And
And-
take 2 days longer than I want.
Well, more
Yeah.
like a couple months, because it yeah. But on the upside, I did see a post that they like hired on like 3 more people to help.
Nice.
So
How long do you think
Uh,
character creation takes?
Depends on the system.
Yeah, for me, like an hour, maybe 2 hours.
Yeah,
Day.
I have a friend that that in 5e it takes them they really have to ruminate on their character. It legit takes them a full week to build a character, because they have to pick it up and put it down, and they have to think about all of their options. It's very strange to me, because they are so meticulous about the character they build, and then their characters always turn out to be like game ruining chaos gremlins. that throw all plans and planning into complete disarray. It's very strange, but like it really depends on the person as to how long it takes. Most people, I think it should take between an hour and 3 hours to build a character.
Yeah. And kind of going back to the whole item list stuff, then you got Path Builder who decides to do everything alphabetically,
Yeah.
but also in categories, so it's just like, I hate all of this.
I can't search for
It's
spells.
like-
Path Builder is just like,
Nope.
you go somewhere else, find the spells you want, and then just look them up.
There's
Yep.
yeah. There's a reason I even build my characters in Path Builder anymore.
I still like it for building characters.
Like, I build the characters, I don't give them items or anything.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Same. I do that in
And
Foundry.
Path Builder. Yeah.
I've got to walk away from this. I keep coming back to this cat monster, and I'm just spinning my wheels.
Yeah.
Let's do one more, and then I think we're probably gonna call it. What do we got? What do we got?
You roll a
Illithid,
1.
Illithid Draconic Bloodline Sorcerer with a focus on lightning damage. Ooh, that sounds fun.
Does sound fun.
I know. Oh, sorry. Let me catch up on chat here. Tasha's really says, "I hear you fucking didn't allow homebrew." Yeah, essentially, it's essentially what it does. Because there were so many. Like the internet was, I should say, before Tasha's came out, just inundated with two factions of, "It's not in the book, fuck you," and "This isn't in the book, fuck you, I'm gonna add it." Like, so there were two camps of just really pissed off people because it was either like the rule lawyers and everybody else.
Yeah,
and so
and
it drove me crazy. It drove me crazy.
It was the rule lawyers versus I do what I want.
Yeah. And the I do what I want stuff was like basic shit. It was so I mean,
there was surprisingly little game breaking.
Yeah, to be fair, like people like D&D shorts abused the shit out of that.
Yes.
And like and I think that was like there was a moment in time when him, I can't remember his name, I'm so sorry about that, him and like the two other YouTubers I can think of were basically just leaning into that anger and whipping people into a fervor by like, "This is in the book, ha ha ha," and it's like, you're not helping the situation. And then as soon as Tasha's came out, that kind of died off because it was just like, yeah, you just don't do that. Like that's what fixes the problem. You just don't do it. So,
just be cool, and it's not a problem.
And a lot of the stuff that came out in Tasha's was stuff that like I've been espousing to for years. Of just, yeah, if it doesn't work, just don't do it that way. Like, it's fine. Like just just hand wave it. It's fine. So
Yeah, because like that's like page 1 of like the player handbook is homebrew is allowed, and it's
D&D has, or DM has discretion, and like that's, and so a lot of people were, and I think a lot of the anger really was coming from DM's discretion being, no, you can't do that, right? Because it's not in the book. And so that was the thing. But I think that pushback was from the people like D&D shorts being like, look how you can abuse the system. And then the DM being like, I don't want to allow that because it's not really like, that's not the intent of the rules. You're breaking the system. So lots of people like jumped on those kind of meme builds, and it made the DMs push back really hard and being like, no, if it's not in the book, it's not a thing. And then that shut down so much just, I want to say frivolous homebrew, like stuff that just does not matter at the end of the day.
like making a homebrewed item for monks to have like +2 at a higher level to their hit.
Yep. Like, hey, that's in 3.5 and Pathfinder. It's not in 5e, so it can't be done. It's like,
yeah, and then
it's been play
in
tested
one of
and it
the
works.
books, they added it because there were so many people just like shutting it down, and they were just like, fine, we'll make it an item for these babies.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm a little salty about those types of people.
And that's what I'm trying not to be derogatory, but like it's a lot of just unnecessary bullshit.
Yeah.
And not necessarily like people complaining, but like there's just so much passion and like rage involved in it, and that it's like you're not doing anybody like any favors by being upset about it. Like just talk about it,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
the rational answer is usually like, yeah, okay. But there are a lot of people like doing those meme builds that would then also min-max their characters. And once again, min-maxing is its own problem because it usually involves not purposely trying to like outdo the rest of the party, but if the party is here playing casually or having fun making their characters, and then someone's try-harding, there's a schism in the party, right? Like so it kind of exacerbated a lot of issues because all of a sudden you'd have a group of people and then someone's like, I'm gonna play a coffee warlock, and it's like, god damn it. It's like, get out of here. Like we don't need this.
I think another thing also that kind of threw gasoline onto the fire was like YouTubers who are not so much like making the builds, but they are like reading like Reddit horror stories.
Right. That was also a big thing. Like not Flutes. Maybe it was Flutes. No, it was. Oh no, I feel bad now. There's a couple of YouTubers I know who like made their names for themselves reading YouTube horror stories, and they're fine people and it's great, but like it's indicative of kind of a part of the internet that's just like, we need drama injected into my veins. And it's like, I don't want to be a part of this. So
Reddit and 4chan users.
Yeah.
Yep.
Simulacrum
Crab is the one that I saw the most. But yeah. But like you notice there are still like channels that will review like D&D horror stories or just weird D&D memes, and a lot of the old horror stories kind of still make it into it. We don't really get any new horror stories.
No.
Yeah. And now I've also noticed like it's shifted from like problem builds now just to being problem players, which is really the big issue, is problem GMs and problem players.
Right.
Like trying to one up each other.
Which I hope I've always been against that, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I hope my type of play style and the way like advice I give to people has helped that a little bit. In the way of, at least I hope I'm adding something worthwhile and helpful to the internet instead of just more rage bait. But,
yeah.
Or the horror stories or the superhero stories. I don't know what those mean. Superhero story, I don't know that one. But I do know the Simulacrum Wizard. That one's bad. Sponsor a character creation if sorry, I'm trying to catch up on chat, Druid.
Go ahead. Yeah. Go
Thinking
ahead.
about sponsoring a character creation stream if the crew is game for a prompt. What do you mean by that? Like, do you want to just...
A little late to start that today.
Oh yeah, I can't do that today. But if you want to talk about like a stream idea, just hit me up in Discord and we can talk about it. But the other thing I'd like would have slapped the DM, wasted my con time with a silly experience. I've lost the plot of the chat, I think.
Yeah, same.
I think
There have been, Rook, you and I have had a couple of conversations after the game that I run for you guys, where I, after we had the conversation, it was usually about some sort of miscommunication that we've had, but a couple of times you've brought up concerns, and like I have legit wished that we had those conversations in front of your YouTube chat, just because like not because I think that they need to be public, but like it was such a good example of being like, okay, so I'm not quite sure what's happening, or this doesn't make sense, or I disagree with that decision that was made, and I think we need to talk about it. Like it is no secret, never has been and never will be, that in order to get good D&D you have to have good communication.
Yeah. Something I know for a fact, I am a hard person to DM. I just know this about myself. I am very critical, and so much so that like I was in a business meeting the other day and I was like, I know I'm a little critical here, and my boss said, said like, what? Rook being critical? No way. And I was just like, all right, that wasn't called for, but I get where you're coming from. So like, I get that. I'm very critical on things, but a lot of the times when I'm critical about stuff, it's because either I've done it before, and so I already like, I've played
You're
a lot
aware
of D&D in my
of
life.
the potential pitfalls.
Yeah, and so what will happen is like I'll start playing D&D and something will happen and I'll be like, oh, I get what you're doing. I've done this. It sucks. Don't do that. And then they do it anyways, and then I get frustrated, right? And I'm like, all right, yep, nope, we're doing it. Here we go. And then it fails, and I want to be like, ha, told you so. And it's just like, that's not helpful to anybody. Like,
No.
and so
It's cathartic, though.
it's cathartic, but like it's very much because like I have so much experience with it that like I get really frustrated when people don't listen to me at this point, and it's just like, all right, here goes the train wreck. And so I realize that that's on me, right? I'm the one that's like, I get salty, I get pissy about stuff like that, and it very much is something that I'm trying to get better with. And so a lot of times I just don't bring stuff up, and then I just kind of like, be grumpy about it later. Not with you, but like, not you specifically is what I'm saying, because I play with like with Kevin DMing and Lars DMing, and that's something that I'm trying to deal with, of like how to let myself be a player and not a DM.
Yeah.
But it's a horror story. Basically, it was boring to hear and being read, and now we're talking about it, so I'm very confused. The DM was the hero in the stories. Huh. Oh, like it's basically like a lot of the... Okay, I think I know what you're saying. The horror stories basically become just the DM being like, my players are so shitty. I have heard those kind of things, and
Yep.
I don't like to watch them. I don't espouse to them. I don't tell people to watch them because... And I've even had people come into the chat and be like, what's your worst D&D horror story? It's like, that's not this kind of channel. That's not the kind of channel we have here. So like, I generally try not to tell people about horror stories I've had, unless it can be helpful. So yeah, the big thing about like when you and I play, and I try to give you my feedback, I'm very much trying to... I'm not trying to like make you a better DM. Like, okay, here's what you did wrong, right? I'm trying to be like, this made me feel bad, or like I didn't enjoy that, and here's why.
Yeah. You're trying to make the game better for you and for the people around you. And I totally get that. I think one of the reasons that it's so easy for me to take your criticism is probably because we're both artists, and so well, we're also both fairly similar personalities, and so it's very easy for me to get where you're coming from.
Right.
And I also realize that like mentally I'm a little bit slow sometimes, and sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it is difficult for me to listen and implement suggestions, or sometimes I don't understand how a suggestion is going to make stuff better, so I disregard it, right? So
Right.
But in general, I think that our communication has been really good, and I always try to keep my communication with everybody who's playing at my table really good.
Good. Yep, I agree with that. I think the best way to look at it is really like when you want to give somebody critique for like DMing a session or playing a character, the best way to do that is to tell them, like, specifically, not the issue of like, well, your character was a dick, right? Like that doesn't help anybody. But what you can say is the way your character was playing like belittled my character, or like made it so I couldn't play the game, and that made me frustrated, right? Like telling people how you were directly affected or why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes that's really hard, right? It's just like, man, I don't know what it was, but today, like, I did not have fun. I did not have fun, and I was mad. And it's like, I've had people say that to me, and it's like, ooh, shit, okay. Well, what did I do? Why did you feel that way, right? It has nothing to do with, like, I don't like that you made this call, because, like, you can definitely be mad about that stuff. And I've said that to Kevin. I'd be like, well, I wouldn't do it that way, but you're the DM, so we're going to go with it, right? Like, that's me being a little passive-aggressive, but he's the DM. He has the say at the end of the day. And it's like, that's totally fine. And then later on, we can have conversations about that. But it's just like, here's how I feel. Here's what happened that made me feel that way. Do we need to change something? Yes or no? Like, there's, like, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you just disagree with things and you feel bad about it, and then you decide whether or not you want to keep playing D&D. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's when you find out things like, oh, if I completely negate all of your armor, you don't have fun anymore. Interesting. Right? Like, that's the kind of conversations you need to have. So, I'm sorry. Yeah. But that's the biggest thing with a lot of DM horror stories. It really is. I feel like they all boil down to I'm more important than the group. It doesn't matter if it's DM saying it or the player saying it. That's pretty much what they all boil down to. Me having fun is more important than anyone else having fun. And that's why I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I don't like it when people argue that not argue, I'm sorry, when people like one up each other. It's not fun. Sometimes people need to be in charge of the story. Sometimes people need to be, the chosen character to make the story work. And that's fine. You just have to make sure everybody's having fun with it. So.
That's why I don't want a GM for you, Rook, because I don't want you to get critical at me, and I will take it to heart and feel bad about myself. Not because of you, but just because of me.
That's fair. That is fair.
Like, I know I won't be able to handle it. I probably would have be emotional wreck afterwards.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. There's nothing. I don't know if there's anything
not
to
your
say
fault.
about
It's
it.
my issue.
I'm very much looking forward to a time when, Rook, when you can attempt another game with the Discord.
Yeah, I want to do that because that might be something that is more feasible than art streams. Because a big problem with dealing with the boy is, like, I have to either pay attention to him very directly, which makes me not able to draw on the screen. Like, that's the biggest thing, is the boy is a physical deterrent between me and the drawing tablet.
Right.
But that doesn't stop me from being able to talk, right? It doesn't stop me from being able to read. It might be slow. I can still roll dice. Like, I can probably make that work. And so that's why some of our live streams might become more, hey, I have a dungeon I want to run today. Who's available to do that, right? That could be a thing that we do. Versus versus me just always doing the viewer suggestion. Because the viewer suggestion I'm the most worried about. And for those of you that are now back, I think we're about ready to get out of here, so I might just re-talk about it again. This is probably going to be the last viewer suggestion, as they have been. Next week I will be taking care of the boy myself during the day, so I don't know how that's going to go. So next week I'm not going to do a suggestion poll. I'll probably still live stream on Wednesday and Friday, but it's going to be a lot more of, if people are around and they want to try a viewer suggestion, we can try that. But I don't want to promise that I will try to do that and then not be able to even live stream at all, if that happens, right? So next week is going to be kind of experimental. We're going to play around with some ideas that we can let people throw suggestions out, or we can do I think people were asking for longer sketches, which could just be that we get one person to suggest something and we try to draw that all day, because that might be the time that we're allotted. But the live streams as they are will basically be changing for the next couple months, and I don't want to promise anything I can't do. So we're going to try to figure that out as we go. We will still be live streaming for sure, but we will not be doing the viewer suggestion as it is, which we did 418 episodes of this, so I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
I'm not super sad, but I think things are going to change, things are going to shift, and we'll figure it out as we go along. Not Drew, Corvus, I'm sorry that you feel like you can't be criticized by me. I totally get where you're coming from.
Brought by you, it's just like, I don't take criticism well. I never have.
Yeah.
I always take it personally.
I think I've told this story before. It's very much something different about being an art student. Like, something they drill into you in college is like, you have to learn how to take critique. You have to understand how to take it. And because of that, art schools are usually very, very harsh. And I got called out by one of my teachers, because I told him this. I'm like, yeah, I know. I want you to give me real critiques. I want you to be honest and open with me about things. And I half-assed a report, and he said after I did it, like, you totally bullshitted that, and that was, like, the weakest report you've ever given, I think, in this class. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I kind of did this last night. I totally get where you're coming from. Like the content I had was good, but I half-assed this. And he's like, "Yep, I'm gonna give you a C for this because of that." I'm like, "That's fair." And everybody after class was like, "Oh my god, are you okay? Like that was so rough. He was so mean." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like that was the most honest report I'd ever like. I have nothing. I didn't even realize that it was bad because it was 100% like he called me out on something that he was right about. I was like, "Yep, nope, you caught me. So So yeah, so a lot of the time when I'm very critical of people or critical of things, it is very much it's me being too honest and blunt, right? Like I'm not the best at tact anymore.
But it is specifically art training that it's always about getting the best outcome from the thing you're producing, right?
Which and I've had a lot of people. There's been a few times when someone will like try to trash me in the comments, and the only thing I can respond to them is like, "Yeah, fair enough." Like that's it's just like yeah, I guess you're right. Like I didn't think about that, or I didn't look at that the right way. So and sometimes that's important is the thing. Like I like it. I don't like people just like berating me, right? Like I don't want critique to ever be just someone berating you. But very much I have done things that I like wasn't sure about or did half-ass, and someone called me out on it, and then it's just like I already knew that, right? That's why I'm upset. I'm upset because I already knew that, and you called me out on it. I should have just done it right the first time, and that's the hardest thing about critique. But sometimes there are things where people will say something, it's just like, oh shit, you're right. Like I didn't think about that, and those I really enjoy, even when they like suck and they hurt and it's bad. But like I can be very critical, and I think that's important when you're designing a D&D game, is to be very critical with yourself first, and then when critique can help you start seeing things that you didn't get, that's when it gets really good, and that's when I think critical stuff is really important. So not wanting to be critiqued is fine. I totally get that, and I'm sorry that
100%.
Yeah, if you ever do want to actually DM for me, Corvus, I can shut up. Like, you can just tell me, like, I don't want any critique. I just want to run this, and I want to enjoy it. It's like, okay, that's fine.
Yep. Long story short, Corvus, it is an artist-specific skill. It is not learned, it is learned. It is not inherent. And
not everybody needs it.
Not everybody needs it. Not everybody can have it. Especially people with, say, imposter syndrome. Like, there might be psychological reasons behind why you can't take critique, and that is okay. That is not a thing you can control, and you should not feel bad about it.
I think I'm about done with this one.
Yeah, I really like the lightning that you added. You started drawing it across his abdomen, and I was like, oh shit, this just got real cool.
It's just going.
I also stopped looking at a point to interject in the conversation to look for a roll like 10 minutes ago, so...
Oh, I'm sorry.
So it's just you. No, it's fine.
I thought we were done. I thought we were done, so I was...
Yeah. I think I probably could have gotten another sketch in the time that we were talking about all this, but I was invested in the conversation, so...
I also didn't mean to, like, call out Corvus for stuff. Sorry. Oops. So I hope we didn't overshare.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think his mic is just not working.
If you've seen the particular movement in the bear, he's describing 2 lines cooked. I haven't seen the bear. I've been avoiding it because it's about cooking, and I didn't want to. Wood sign. I'm sorry to get out. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, critical eye is now on Rook himself. Exactly. Yep. And I think that's probably where we're gonna call it. So, I don't know if I have anything else. I think that's it. Thanks again, everybody, for hanging out. Thanks for all the cool suggestions this week. We got through a bunch of them.
Yeah. I think we only have 2 left.
Something like that, yeah. And I think, I think next week we're just gonna play it by ear, like I said. We'll see if things play out the way I hope they do, where we can be kind of chill. But I'm gonna guess I'm gonna be holding holding the kiddo most of next week. So until I figure out how to do that properly, probably won't be a lot of art being done. So we'll try it out. We'll see what happens. Otherwise, we'll just hang out and have fun. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Thanks again. Stay happy. Stay healthy. Keep your dice on the table. And we'll catch y'all next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.